definitely the best wildlife experience I have had in a long time, if not ever. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. I have a bit of an ambitious goal today, so I am out today trying to find and photograph black bears. Now, I saw my first black bear last weekend, I think, and it's almost the end of April and I've only seen one, so I want to fix that. So my plan is to head out and see if I can locate one to photograph one. I'm thinking this might be a few day excursion to see if I can find one. It might take some time to find one, but it's going to be totally worth it. So my plan today is to head out kind of into a wet area. It's an area that has a lot of skunk cabbage, which is a food that these black bears eat in the spring, because it's one of the few foods that are available. It's one of the first plants that come out, and right now there's not really any berries or any much other vegetation that's out yet for them to eat, so they will eat this skunk cabbage. So I'm going to go down to a spot that has a lot of it growing and see if one happens to come through. So let's see. Well, definitely on the right track because got some bear scat. There's also some deer scat, and there's some different browse in the skunk cabbage as well. So I think this is a pretty good spot here. I'm just gonna sit up. It's kind of a dry spot, so I won't get too wet sitting down. But we've got a little bit of a brook flowing here. And I've got some pretty good visibility on all sides. Plus there's a lot of shrubs and such, so there might be some migrating warblers around the area as well. So I'm gonna sit and see what happens. I've been sitting here for about half hour to 45 minutes now, and I think I'm gonna move just a little bit ways back that way behind me. I've been looking around and I've actually think that I'm pretty much right on a game trail. So I saw the scat that I showed you on this side of the little brook, but there's also a few piles of what looks like bear scat on the opposite bank as well. So it looks like they come right through here. So I'm going to pack up and move, kind of go back that way a little bit. That way, in case anything does come through this section, they can kind of go through it naturally like they would. Because if I stay here and then they come down where they usually walk, they're going to get all disoriented and kind of not act normally. So I'm going to set up over there so that way hopefully if anything does come through, they can just kind of go through normally. They're going to catch my scent, but hopefully they won't care too much. But there's also some birds calling over in the shrubby area over that way. I've heard some black and white warbler, which is the first time I've heard them this year, as well as some different chickadees and wrens. So I'm going to head over that way, find another spot to set up, and then continue sitting and waiting. This was probably a log that bear ripped open to get grubs and stuff inside of it. It's all just kind of strewn about. Well, I've been out here for about 3 hours now, and there's been no activity. There's been some bird activities, but no mammal activity. But it's definitely a good spot. I'm gonna have to come back here again because there is bear scat everywhere. I was kind of looking around, finding all sorts of different piles. So I'm not too sure if maybe it's just a spot that they come through at night. It would be a great spot to set up a trail camera if I had one, but I do not. So definitely gonna come back here again, but so far day one, no luck for the bears yet. A few days later, I was able to go back out into the forest to search for the black bears. It had rained the night before, so the leaves on the forest floor were nice and wet, making it easy to walk quietly through the forest. I'm following a game trail as well, so that helps me walk even quieter in the forest. It's a really good thing you can do if you're out in the forest and you don't want to make too much noise. If you follow a game trail, basically a trail made by animals, a lot of times the sticks and stuff are already crunched down and the leaves are tamped down as well, so it's a much easier and much smoother way to walk, and it's much quieter as well. And a lot of times a lot of different species use the same game trail, so even though it might be predominantly used by deer, doesn't mean that bear, coyote, fox wouldn't use it as well, because it's a clear path and it's easier to traverse the landscape. So you never know, sometimes you might get lucky. This is really cool. I came across this white pine that's dead, but it is just pulverized with pileated woodpecker holes. There's probably at least 50 holes in this side of this tree. It is pretty awesome. It's amazing what they can do. Geez, there's more on this side too. It's so cool. I hear a Louisiana water thrush down ahead of me, so that's a good sign. I'm getting close to the brook. There's a pond to my right that you can hear the geese on. I decided to head over towards the direction of the pond where the geese were calling to see if there was any other species over on the water. Okay, so I was out seeing if there's any other species on the pond. There's some geese and they're calling, but I started following a game trail and there is moose scat. So moose are not very common in Connecticut, in this area at least. They come down every now and then, and there has been one in the area. So last I heard it was in Windsor. But this is definitely moose scat, and it looks somewhat fresh, but it's also kind of hard to tell because it's wet from the rain last night. So it's pretty exciting. This is definitely a spot where they would be. They like the water, and this is nice and dense vegetation wise. So I'm just gonna keep following this game trail and see what happens. I'm definitely gonna keep my eye out because that would be amazing. So fingers crossed. I decided to take a minute and set up here along the brook for a second. There's a Louisiana water thrush that's calling, and there's a sharp bend in the brook right in front of me, and there's a beautiful down log that's kind of right in the open canopy. So there's a good amount of light coming through, and I'm hoping that the Louisiana water thrush will come over this direction because it was behind me and then it flew diagonal over to the bank. So I'm hoping that it'll come back over and maybe perch on one of these logs that's over the water, because that would be really beautiful. The moss is really creating like a really nice effect on the log. So I'm just gonna sit here and see if it comes over. I'm also keeping an eye out, make sure in case the moose is around. So a lot of things going on. We'll see if anything pans out or not. The Louisiana water thrush didn't want to cooperate, and I wanted to move on, so I decided to head deeper into the forest. Well, the meadow is completely flooded, and it's actually really kind of nice. It's very pretty looking. Oh. Blue heron just landed right in front of me. This is awesome. Hold on. Well, the heron just took off. It had known I was here as soon as it landed. It was very suspicious, and it took it about a half hour before it actually started to try to move around and forage. So once it started moving around and it started to get a little bit more comfortable, I got my camera down off my shoulder finally and was able to get a few pictures of it. But it didn't last long. It just kind of walked around for a little bit. I got a couple pictures and videos of it, but then it flew off. I guess it figured it was better safe than sorry. It didn't know what I was, so it's a shame, but it's kind of how it happens with them. They're quite skittish, unless you find them kind of at a park that gets visited a lot. I don't really have very good luck photographing them usually most of the time, so I'm gonna pack up and kind of continue along the edges of this meadow and see what happens. I decided to take a break and sit by a pool of water. There was a Louisiana water thrush that was calling to my right, and it was really nice to be able to hear some of the warblers that had come back. There was a black-throated green warbler that was calling, as well as a vireo calling behind me, and I also thought I heard a great crested flycatcher calling in the treetops above as well. So I decided to sit, relax, and enjoy the sounds of the forest. I continued hiking along the brook for about an hour and a half, hoping that I would be able to catch a glimpse of a black bear foraging on the skunk cabbage. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw it. A black bear foraging on the skunk cabbage. I froze, and they froze as well. They then decided to climb up one of the trees that was near them, about 20 feet off the ground, and then to my surprise, I realized that this was a cub, and there was another cub on the ground near the base of the tree, and so was the mother. This is unbelievable. I have never witnessed this before. Usually the black bears around here, they're very scared of people. And the one cub that saw me immediately went up into a tree. But then after a little while, I just sat still. They relaxed, and it came down the tree, and then they started foraging on the skunk cabbage. It is amazing. I am so happy right now. I'm just sitting here waiting for the bears to wake up because they have their head down and they're just napping. This is why I do this. I love this so much. I spent the next 3 hours sitting quietly, watching as the black bear family peacefully napped off and on. As the bears were napping, I decided to use my time and photograph and video some of the nature around me. eventually the cubs woke up, and so did the mother bear, and they started to move on and forage further into the forest. Well, that was absolutely incredible. That was definitely the best wildlife experience I've had in a long time, if not ever. It is an amazing feeling when wildlife, especially something like a black bear, lays down and takes a nap right in front of you. It was incredible. I'm so happy right now. It's amazing. The bears and the two cubs, they went farther up the brook and kind of farther into the woods, up in the opposite direction of me. There's no way I'm gonna go after them. I do not want to ruin the experience that I just had with them. I know that if I probably tried to go and follow them along, I'd probably end up spooking them, scaring them, and that would just make the whole thing a wash. So I'm so happy with what I got. Got some amazing footage, some great pictures. It's just incredible. I mean, that's what it's all about right there. I knew that the bears were going to be around the wet areas because that's where the skunk cabbage was, and I mean, it took me all morning to travel along the brook to find them, but the reward is just amazing. So I'm just so happy. I'm glad it only took me 2 days. I'm surprised it only took me 2 days to find them, but I did. So I'm so happy. Anyway, geez, I think I'm gonna try to find a spot to eat lunch now that it's 2 o'clock. I was sitting with them. They were napping for about 2 hours, and then the mom actually started nursing the two cubs, and unfortunately that was they were behind kind of a screen of pines, so I couldn't see them, but I knew that's what was happening, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. I mean, it's really awesome when you get to kind of just sit and be with wildlife, and you kind of get to a sneak peek into their life, because they don't really care that you're there. They know that you're there. I knew that they could smell me. They kept having their noses in the air, but they just didn't seem to mind. If you just sit, relax, and just let the wildlife relax with you, you get some amazing experiences just like that. So, man, Awesome.